Cooper Cronk wasn't the fastest halfback. He didn't have the biggest boot, the flashiest step, or the raw talent of the superstars around him. But in every way that actually wins rugby league games, he was elite, maybe the most elite we've ever seen. Across 372 NRL games, Cronk built a career on precision, discipline, decision-making, and professionalism at a standard no one has quite matched. He won 4 premierships, 2 Dally M medals, dominated Origin, excelled for Australia, and engineered 2 different club dynasties. One with the Melbourne Storm, one with the Sydney Roosters. But here's the thing, Cooper Cronk wasn't supposed to become any of that. He wasn't a prodigy. He wasn't anointed by scouts. He wasn't the kid coaches pointed at and said, "That one's going to be special." He was a Queensland kid from Brisbane who grew up playing whatever position his team needed. Hooker, lock, centre, utility, bench, fill in half when someone was sick. Nothing about him screamed future superstar. But he had one thing that separated him from every kid around him. He was obsessed with being better than he was yesterday. And that obsession is what led him from Brisbane to the Melbourne Storm, the club that would turn him into a machine. As a teenager, Cronk wasn't the biggest or the quickest, but he had 2 traits every coach values. He was reliable and he was smart. His high school coach once said Cronk wasn't the most talented, but he was always the first to understand the game plan. Cronk studied the sport even as a kid. He didn't just pass a footy, he studied how the pass spun. He didn't just kick, he analysed hang time, bounce, momentum. He didn't just defend, he tracked spacing, angles, and support lines. By the time he was a young adult, he had already built the mental framework of an elite half. He just didn't have the body or the polish yet. And then Melbourne found him. The Storm didn't recruit him as a halfback. They signed him because he was versatile, tough, disciplined, and competitive. They signed him because he was the kind of player Craig Bellamy could turn into something. But no one, not even Bellamy, predicted just how far he would go. When Cronk arrived at Melbourne, he wasn't in the same category as Cameron Smith or Billy Slater. Smith was already a once-in-a-generation hooker. Slater was an explosive junior talent destined for greatness. Cronk was the "we'll find a spot for him" recruit, but early on, Bellamy noticed something special. Cronk didn't just train hard, he trained with intention. Every rep had purpose, every drill had detail, every conversation turned into a lesson. And that's when Bellamy saw the truth. Cronk had the brain of a halfback, he just needed the mechanics. So Bellamy began the process of rebuilding him from scratch. They broke down his passing technique, they refined his footwork, they adjusted where he stood, how he caught the ball, where his eyes went, where his hips pointed, and how he positioned defenders. This wasn't just training, this was engineering. Teammates would finish training and go home. Cronk would stay behind and complete another hour of reps. 200 spiral passes left, 200 right, grubbers into the corner, repeat sets, short kicks, bombs, then more. He didn't train to be good, he trained to become inevitable. And once Bellamy gave him the 7 jersey, everything shifted. Smith, Slater, Cronk. It became the greatest spine the NRL has ever seen. Slater had the speed and instincts. Smith had the game IQ and control. Cronk had the precision and structure. Together, they turned Melbourne into a machine. Their sets weren't random, they were sequences. Their shapes weren't improvised, they were rehearsed. Their attack wasn't chaotic, it was systematic. Cronk wasn't there to be flashy, he was there to ensure that every play hit its mark, and the Storm destroyed teams because of it. Under Cronk's direction, Melbourne built one of the most sustained periods of excellence in modern rugby league history. Grand finals in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 2012, 2016, 2017, with Cronk either developing into or already acting as the general that drove the machine. With Cronk either developing into or already acting as the general that drove the machine. And during this period, Cronk went from the utility that might make it to a 2-time Dally M medalist. 2, not 1, 2. But still, critics questioned him. He's nothing without Smith. He's nothing without Slater. He's a system half. He's just a cog. They didn't realize Cronk wasn't a cog in the machine. He was the engineer. And he would prove it in the most dramatic way possible. At the end of 2017, Cronk made a decision that stunned the sport. He left Melbourne. And he didn't leave chasing money or opportunity. He left for one reason: love. His partner Tara Rushton lived in Sydney, and Cronk decided he wanted to build a life with her. To do that, he had to leave the club that built him, the coach that refined him, and the teammates who helped him form the most iconic spine in NRL history. And the moment he signed with the Roosters, the questions began. Can he do it without Smith? Can he work under Trent Robinson? Is he too old? Is he just a Storm puppet? Can the Storm system survive without him? These weren't minor doubts. These were doubts aimed at his very legacy, and Cronk answered them one by one. From the moment he stepped into Roosters HQ, everything changed. Players said Cronk elevated the entire squad from day one. He tightened communication. He demanded detail. He refined shapes. He corrected spacing. He improved kicking drills. He sharpened decision-making. The Roosters weren't just talented. They became disciplined. And with Cronk steering the ship, they became dangerous. But then, disaster struck. A week before the 2018 Grand Final in a contact drill, Cooper Cronk landed awkwardly. He stood up slowly. Teammates went quiet. There was no yelling, no frustration, just concern. The scans came back. Fractured scapula, a broken shoulder blade. Most players wouldn't train for 3 months. Cronk had 7 days. The Roosters started planning for a replacement. Cronk walked into Trent Robinson's office and said, "Don't plan for anyone else. I'm playing." Doctors strapped his shoulder in a way that almost immobilized his arm. He couldn't pass properly. He couldn't tackle. He couldn't kick. He couldn't protect himself. He was about to face his former club, Smith, Slater, Bellamy, with one functioning arm. But the thing about Cronk, he didn't need to be physically perfect. He just needed to think better than everyone else. In the Grand Final, Cronk didn't try to be the hero. He became the general. He controlled the defensive line. He set the structure. He directed traffic. He made the reads. He communicated non-stop. Every player on that field said the same thing. It felt like we were playing with 13 and a coach. The Roosters stunned Melbourne. Luke Keary won the Clive Churchill Medal, but inside the sheds, everyone said the same thing. We don't win without Cooper. It wasn't the most athletic performance in NRL history. It wasn't the most explosive. It wasn't the flashiest. But it was the toughest. And Cronk wasn't done. The following year, 2019, was the real test. Teams had studied the Roosters' blueprint. Opposition coaches had built defensive structures just to stop Cronk. The Roosters were the hunted. And still, they went back to back, the first NRL team of the era to do it. Cronk retired with 372 NRL games, 4 premierships, 2 Dally M medals, 7 Dally M Halfback of the Year awards, 38 Origin games, 38 tests, and 1 Grand Final played with a broken shoulder. But numbers alone don't reflect his legacy. His legacy is in the way he played. Johns had the magic, Thurston had the flair, Lockyer had the vision, Smith had the mind, Cronk had the execution. He didn't need raw talent. He built greatness through obsession. He didn't need natural gifts. He perfected mechanics. He didn't need highlight reels. He built dynasties. Consistency became his superpower. Structure became his weapon. Preparation became his edge. 2 dynasties, 2 clubs, 1 general. Cooper Cronk, the architect of excellence.